Welcome back, Crafty friends. It's Alicia of the Call Me Crafty Al YouTube channel, and today I have a process video, kind of a tutorial for you of how I made 6 cards in probably about an hour once I had everything kind of sketched out. Today I'm going to show you that I just used a few pieces of pattern paper, some cardstock, and then a few die cuts, and I made all 6 of these cards. So you will notice that the background of the cards is very similar. Actually, it is the same. If you have ever done Stampin' Up before, you might have heard of a one-sheet wonder. I got started with card making years ago, and I actually had my own online magazine. It was called SheetLoad of Cards, and every month my design team would take a sketch that was meant for you to make lots of cards at once and make cards using it. And I hadn't done it for a while. I had actually been contacted by some of my former readers to know if they could get access to those issues. So I thought, why not give it a try again? I think the last issue was out December of 2009. So card making has changed a lot. The styles have changed a lot since then. My style has changed a lot since then. So I quickly, earlier today, I sketched out kind of an idea of what I wanted the cards to look like. Some of the sketch of how I would trim the paper. And you can see here on the back, just in a larger one of my ideas. And then I came down and I made these cards. So once I get done talking here, the tutorial will be at the end of this video. But the neat thing about this is you can make these as simple or as extravagant as you want. If you look at my original sketch, pretty plain, right? So you could just leave it. Sorry, this one. Nope. Sorry. These two here, just use the sketch I made. But I have added a die cut. This one I kind of did it diagonally because I think it looked better, it fit better that way. And then the next one I actually rotated the sketch. Instead of laying it this way, I turned it and put a die cut on it. You can also add punches. Here I have added a little pink butterfly punch with some gold gems down the center. Kind of popped those wings up for some texture. Now, if I had it to do over, I probably would have used an embossing folder on these pink pieces to give it more texture. But I realized that too late after I'd already adhered all these down. On this one here, I have the die cut, of course, but then I've also added a fussy cut piece from the paper pad. For today's cards, I used the Hello Darlin stack from Die Cuts with a View, and this was on one of the sheets, and I just fussy cut that and added it to the corner. This one I have, next to the die cut, I have 3 pink gems, just simple. And then on this one, I added some twine to the top and just tied it in a bow. So, great way to get your card stash a little bigger if you're needing some. That way you might have some on hand to send out. It was simple, it's quick, and it uses minimal supplies. And you wouldn't even have to use the cutting guides if you had scraps and wanted to do these. So, here we go with the tutorial. Thanks for watching. For my cards today, I used the Hello Darlin stack from Die Cuts with a View, and I selected 4 of the 12 by 12 pattern papers out of it. For my card bases, I have 3 8.5 by 11 pieces of white cardstock. To get started, I cut 3 of my patterned papers down to 8.5 by 11, or a standard size piece of paper. The only one I did not cut down is the wood grain pattern paper, and you'll see here in a minute I show you the 12 by 12 wood grain and the 3 smaller pattern papers now. This also left me with some scraps I could use to decorate the cards or on other things. When I cut my white cardstock bases, I cut my paper vertically. So when I fold it down to the 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, it is actually going to be folded across the top shorter edge so it stands up. Here I have all 6 folded and I'm going to start cutting. First, for the wood grain card, I cut the background into 6 4 by 5 1/2 inch pieces. For pattern paper number 1, which makes the longest banner on the front of the card, I am cutting this into 6 strips that are each 1 1/2 inch wide by 4 1/2 inches long. Pattern paper number 2 is cut very similar to pattern paper number 1, except this will be cut to 1 1/2 inches wide by 3 1/2 inches tall, so it's an inch shorter than the green pattern paper. And last but not least, we're going to cut pattern paper number 3 into 6 strips that are 1 1/2 inches wide by 2 1/2 inches tall. Again, they're an inch shorter than the previous pattern. I chose a coordinating cardstock. Here I chose pink and it matches one of the pinks in the hexagon paper. I'm going to be cutting this into 6 strips that are 4 1/4 inches wide by 1 inch tall. This is just a look at all of the papers and cardstocks that I'm going to be using for the base of my card. And now it is time to start putting the cards together. I start by adhering my wood grain pattern pieces to the front of the card base, and I'm going to align those to the left. So you'll see after I'm done with the card, there is a white strip still left on the front right side. Here I am using my Stampin' Up! Scallop border punch to give a little extra decoration to that strip that will go across the top of the card. Like I mentioned before, next time I would probably run these through an embossing folder as well. To create the notches on the bottom of my flags that will go on the front of the card, I am using a square punch to make that cut. You could always hand cut these or use a die if you have one that would be these sizes, whatever is easiest for you. When I started to adhere my flags down to the front of my cards, I just kind of eyeballed where I wanted the pattern paper number 1 and 2. And then when I went to place down number 3, I kind of centered it between the top edges of that. Once the flags were put down, I added the pink border strips to the top, and here you can see all 6 card bases ready to go. Now that the card bases are done, they are ready to be decorated. I pulled out some of my word dies and I'm going to cut these out of some gold cardstock. As I cut my word dies, I went ahead and didn't worry too much about the inside of the letters staying in, like the middle of the E, the middle of the O, the A's. You'll see me later go back in with a toothpick and just poke out the inside of those letters to finish that up. I chose gold cardstock for 2 reasons. First of all, I love gold cardstock. And secondly, on the hexagon pattern paper, some of the hexagons are outlined with a metallic gold. Once I had all of my die cut words ready to go, I ran those through my big Xyron 850 to make them into stickers. Here I am trying to get as much of the extra adhesive off as possible, but I did have to go in later and pull off a lot of adhesive that was in the middle of the letters. You'll see as I start to decorate the card bases that I turn the card bases vertical and horizontal, whichever I think works best with the word or words that I have chosen. That's a good thing about these sketches. You can flip them on the side if you want, turn them upside down, as long as you still have the fold on the right side of the card. For this next die cut word, happy, which I believe is a memory box die, it is pretty fragile, so I'm adhering it a little bit differently, you saw there. As I place my word dies, you'll notice that sometimes they're on top of the flags, sometimes they're beside them. This last one I'm doing, I'm actually going to put on the card diagonally because that's how it ended up fitting best. It's whatever looks good to you. And here's a look at the 6 finished card bases. Now it's time to just jazz them up a little bit. For my first card, I'm going to add a little bit of lime green twine. Another advantage of doing cards like this is you could leave them in your stash exactly as I just showed you. You don't have to put anything extra on these, but you can put as much on them as you want. You could add stamped images, flowers, ephemera, anything in your stash that you might want to use up. On this next one, I'm just putting a few pink gems, and then I grabbed out some fussy cut images from my paper stack to put on this third one. I realized during video editing that I did not record the last 3 cards. The only one of the last 3 I decorated is the one I am showing here. For this one, I punched a butterfly out of the pink cardstock and added 3 miniature gold pearls down the center to act like the butterfly's torso. The last 2 cards I just left as is, like you saw them before, just with the die cut words added. This is just to show you that you can leave these exactly like that and they would still make a nice card to send to a friend or family member. Here is a last look at all 6 cards. I hope you were inspired by my video today, and if you do use my idea and post any pictures to social media anywhere, I would love for you to link those up below and maybe even use the hashtag SheetLoadOfCards. As always, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. If you're new and you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you'll do that. Hope you're having a great day. Thanks. Bye-bye.